What a Super Tuesday it was. We're going to listen to some speeches from three of the candidates, analyze what's going on, and explain to you how Trump, if he is the nominee, will in fact beat Hillary Clinton. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
$25 million. That's the number that the Koch brothers are allegedly pondering putting into Florida to try and derail Donald Trump and to cause Marco Rubio to win in his home state. Marco Rubio, as you know, won Minnesota last night, so that changes the narrative for him in a positive way. Up until that moment, Ted Cruz was able to say, I'm the only one who has beaten Donald Trump anywhere, and I'm the only one who can beat him, implying, Mr. Rubio, it's time for you to get out of the race. Well, that narrative no longer works, and Rubio can say, I beat Donald Trump in Minnesota, and I'm going to beat him in my home state. Well, the simple fact of the matter is that if he does not win in Florida, he cannot win the nomination. But that's not what is at play here. You need to understand, at this point, there are people that are propping Rubio up, telling him to stay in the race so that Trump is denied the number of delegates he needs. 1,237 delegates. That's what he needs. So I want to play for you a clip from Rubio's speech last night. And I want you to take note of the energy he's got, the energy of the crowd, and how now he's really teeing up Donald Trump and bang, hitting him as hard as he can. It may be too little, too late. We'll see. But this is one thing that's for sure. He's down 20 points. Rubio is down 20 points in Florida, his home state. So there's a very high likelihood that in the next 2 weeks, he cannot overcome that type of deficit. But let's listen to his speech.
5 days ago, we began to explain to the American people that Donald Trump is a con artist. And in just 5 days, we have seen the impact that is having all across the country. We are seeing in state after state, he loves to talk about polls, we are seeing in state after state his numbers coming down, our numbers going up. And 2 weeks from tonight, right here in Florida, we are going to send a message loud and clear. We are going to send the message that the party of Lincoln and Reagan and the presidency of the United States will never be held by a con artist. Of all the places in America, and I have traveled this country now, and I am so proud to be back, because there is no place in America that understands the American dream better than this community and this great state of Florida. Like our country, this is a place built by people who always work hard for a better life. Here in this community, we have all been shaped and raised by people that know how special America is, because they know what life is like outside of America. By millions of people who lost their homeland, by millions of people that lost their future. But thank God they found this great country where anything is possible, where everyone can go as far as their talent and their work will take them.
All right, I'll be right back. Next segment, we're going to hear from Ted Cruz. We're going to hear from Donald Trump. And I'm going to explain to you how Hillary can and will be defeated by Trump if he is the nominee, and why Rubio might not be able to beat her. Don't go away. Friend, we are in the middle of producing a 14-part epic television series called What Would Mohammed Do?, explaining Islam and ISIS to the West. I have a master's degree in international terrorism, and I have studied ancient Islamic texts for over a decade. And we are going to do a very paced and a very scholarly look at Muhammad's life and see the connection of his life to today's headlines. Well, we need your help on 3 levels. 1, we need help with some security measures. 2, we need help with some gear for the studio. And 3, we need help with some computers. I'm inviting you to go to the GoFundMe site that you see on the screen and watch the pilot for episode 1. You'll get a feel for what it's going to be, and I promise you, you're going to be excited. You'll be challenged, and you're going to want your friends to see it. And then after you've seen it, give what you can to help us with this project. Thank you. Massive voter turnout on Super Tuesday. Record-breaking in many states. And by the way, Rubio did really well, guess where? In Northern Virginia, the suburbs of Washington, D.C., where the lobbyists live and the special interests live. It was almost laughable. That part of it was almost laughable. But let's give Ted Cruz his moment. As of right now, Donald Trump has almost 300 delegates. He won over 200 last night. Ted Cruz did really well last night, as you know, and he has 161 delegates so far. He won Texas, he won Oklahoma, and he surprisingly won Alaska. That was, I'm going to be honest with you, that was a disaster for Trump and a disaster for Sarah Palin. She is a fairly popular former governor, and yet she could not deliver the grassroots to the man who she has endorsed, Donald Trump. So we expected that out of Governor Haley in South Carolina. I did not see that coming for Alaska. I really didn't. So those are great bragging rights for Ted Cruz. He is now looking a little bit more presidential. He's looking a little bit more confident. Those 3 wins saved him and enabled him to fight another day. The problem that he's facing is that there are states that are coming up that are not proportional states. Most of the states in Super Tuesday were proportional. If you don't get 50%, if you get more than 20, you get to take a portion of the delegates, and if someone else gets more than 20, they get a portion of the delegates. So in some states, for every 2 that Cruz got, Trump got 1, in Texas and in Oklahoma, for example. But coming up are winner-take-all states. For example, Florida, 99 delegates, the winner takes them all. They're not divided. So if Trump wins Florida and he wins Ohio, which I believe is another winner-take-all state, then it's going to be virtually impossible to stop him. But Ted Cruz has his marching boots on. He's finally tuning his rhetoric against Trump, but not going over the top like Rubio. Rubio's calling him a con artist, and Cruz refuses to say that, but Cruz is taking it to him. So congratulations to Ted Cruz on a very significant night last night, although he hasn't been able to stop the Trump momentum. Watch this clip.
America shouldn't have a president whose words would make you embarrassed if your children repeated them. Our president should make us all proud, should inspire hope in all of us. We can nominate a Washington dealmaker, profane and vulgar, who has a lifelong pattern of using government power for personal gain. Or we can nominate a proven conservative who has fought consistently for working men and women and to defend the Constitution. It's our choice. Donald Trump has pledged to expand Obamacare into socialized medicine, with the federal government controlling and rationing your health care. As president, I will repeal every word of Obamacare. Donald Trump promises to cut deals with Democrats and to continue the Washington cronyism. Just like he supported Obama's TARP Wall Street bailout. I will stand with the people of this country and end corporate welfare. Adopt a flat tax and abolish the IRS. Donald Trump funded the Gang of Eight. With your help, I led the successful opposition to the Gang of Eight's amnesty plan. Donald Trump supports Planned Parenthood. I will direct the Justice Department to investigate Planned Parenthood. Donald Trump promises to compromise with Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer on Supreme Court nominees. I will never compromise away our religious liberty.
Again, you see the energy, you see the confidence, but here's the problem. Trump is still winning the evangelical vote. And the firewall, so-called, that Cruz was supposed to have was the Deep South. But he didn't carry the Deep South. So, fortunately, he did take Oklahoma, but he didn't carry Arkansas. Didn't carry Georgia. So, we'll see what happens when we come back from this break. I'm going to play a clip from Mr. Trump's press conference. Very unique what he did, and it seemed to play well. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas referred to John Locke twice in his dissent in the Obergefell decision. John Locke is referred to as the philosopher of American liberty. He was a genius, and he not only believed in natural law, but he believed in revealed law, the Word of God, the law of God. And he is one of the two most influential philosophers on the founders of this republic. We are offering you this book, and I'm going to give you my book as well, The Sword. The Sword, the subtitle is The Blessing of Righteous Government and the Overthrow of Tyrants. It looks at what is the legitimate purpose of government and when is it our right to overthrow government like they did with the Declaration of Independence. We will send you these two books if you simply pay for the shipping and handling, $8, and then give whatever else you want. And by the way, the $8 doesn't cover our cost, but if that's all you can afford, we'll send them to you for the $8. God bless you. The list of people threatening to leave the country is significant. Al Sharpton, Whoopi Goldberg, Samuel L. Jackson. Now, the fact that all of them are African American, I don't think that they're racists against white people like Donald Trump. And Jon Stewart, obviously, he's white. He's threatened to leave the country. He wants to leave the planet. He doesn't think that another country is far enough. He wants to migrate to another ecosystem, another world. I don't know. He could be the guy who goes to Mars first. Well, some of these people, you have to admit, if they did leave the country, wouldn't you want to know their address so you could send them a housewarming gift? Just, oh, really, you're leaving? Good for you. But anyway, let's give Donald Trump his moment in the sun. We're going to play a clip from his speech. Now, it was very interesting because he didn't have a campaign rally. He had a few staff in the room. That's where the cheering came from. But it was a press conference. And he threw it open to the press, who went after him on some of the silliness, like the David Duke, does he renounce groups? One thing I want to say about that, if you followed any of it, David Duke has renounced the Ku Klux Klan, okay? Hasn't been in it for 40 years. And he brings up an interesting point. Robert Byrd, do you remember that name? He was the leader of the Senate for years. He was a member of the Ku Klux Klan in his youth and still became a huge player in the Democratic Party, in the Democrat Party. So the hypocrisy is almost palpable. Trump did really well. He took 7 states. He took states that people did not think that he would take, and some of them by a pretty significant margin. He had a crushing victory in Georgia, and a crushing victory in Tennessee, and a crushing victory in Massachusetts. So again, he's showing that he can pull from both genders, age, economic spectrum, education spectrum. If it wasn't for the fact that he is anti-GOP establishment, and he's almost an insurrection candidate, he's the Republican dream come true. Because he pulls from so many different parts of the voting arena. It's amazing to watch. By the way, locally here in the Tennessee area, when I was driving around, I was surprised to see how many polling locations had Trump volunteers out front waving signs. I did not see any of that activity for any other candidate, and it showed. The energy was there for Trump's people. So here's a clip from Trump's press conference.
Look, I'm a unifier. I know people are going to find that a little bit hard to believe, but believe me, I am a unifier. Once we get all of this finished, I'm going to go after one person. That's Hillary Clinton, on the assumption she's allowed to run, which is a big assumption. I don't know that she's going to be allowed to run. And I think that's frankly going to be an easy race. You see the polls. I beat Hillary in many polls. I know one thing. I don't think Marco's going to be able to beat her. I don't think, in all fairness, I think Ted's going to have a very hard time. But Ted at least has a shot because at least he's won a little bit. So I just tell you this. We are going to be a much finer party, we're going to be a unified party. I mean, to be honest with you. And we are going to be a much bigger party. And you can see that happening. We're going to be a much bigger party. Our party is expanding. And all you have to do is take a look at the primary states where I've won and just look where we've gone from X number to a much larger number. That hasn't happened to the Republican Party in many, many decades. So I think we're going to be more inclusive. I think we're going to be more unified. And I think we're going to be a much bigger party, and I think we're going to win in November. I'm more conservative than anybody on the military, on taking care of our vets, on the border, on the wall, on getting rid of Obamacare and coming up with something much, much better, and certainly getting rid of Common Core and bringing education to a local level so that you're going to have good education for our children who are being absolutely starved for proper education. So, Sarah, I mean, you know, you can call it what you want, but I am a truth teller, and I will tell the truth, okay? You know, look, you can't go around just signing our little notices that the president signs all the time, executive orders. He signed executive order, executive order. It's almost like, I don't even know, does he ever go and deal with Congress anymore? Does he ever speak to the Senate? Does he ever speak with congressmen and get them into a room and get things done? You know, a good example of this, in all fairness, is something that is very, very important to me. Corporate inversion. Carl Icahn, who's a friend of mine who endorsed me, great businessman. It bothers him so much. He calls me about it all the time, where we're losing companies. And we're losing for 2 reasons. We're losing for a lot of reasons, but the taxes are too high. We're the highest tax nation in the world. And very importantly, they have trillions, for companies, trillions of dollars outside of this country. The Democrats agree it should be brought back in. The Republicans agree it should be brought back in. Everybody agrees it should be brought back in. I could sit in a room, or the Oval Office, for a period of literally a half hour. And I really believe I could get everybody, every single person. You know, it's one thing. They don't agree on health care, or they don't agree on Common Core, or they don't agree on other things, and they'll fight. Here's something almost everybody agrees. These trillions and trillions of dollars should be brought into the country. The president can't make a deal. The reason is he doesn't know how to make a deal, probably doesn't work at it, probably doesn't care, but you're talking about tremendous amounts of money. So when you have something that everybody wants and you can't make a deal, there's something going on that's really wrong. And what it means is you have the wrong leader.
I'll be right back after this break, and I'm going to explain to you how Trump can beat Hillary in the fall if he's the nominee. Friend, this TV show represents a mission. It's to be a voice of resistance to the evil in the land, but also to inspire people like you to take a stand at any level that you might be able to equip you, to inspire you, to challenge you, to give you the rhetorical ammunition that you need. But we still have to pay bills. This program, as you know if you're a regular viewer, we don't spend a lot of time raising money. We don't spend a lot of time saying, oh, you need to buy this and we're going to run. No, we're bringing you a message, but we still have bills that we need to pay. I'm asking you, if you have been blessed by this show, to please go to our website or send a check to the address you see on the screen or call the phone number that you see on the screen and use your credit card and to give $50 or $100 or $500 just to help us meet our normal expenses. And we'll keep bringing you this hard-hitting show. I was listening to a radio show yesterday, poorly done, a talk host who was a big Ted Cruz supporter, and I get that, believe me. I think Ted Cruz is awesome. The problem was that he wasn't being honest. And here was the issue. He said that a poll came out that showed Cruz can beat Hillary in the fall, and Rubio can beat Hillary in the fall, and Kasich can beat Hillary in the fall, but Trump can't beat Hillary in the fall. Yes, he can. And I'm going to explain to you how, if he is the nominee. Number one, I made a list while I was listening to him talk. Number one is voter enthusiasm. If you look at Donald Trump's crowds, they're massive. Nothing has happened like this since Reagan ran and then won re-election. I voted for Reagan in '80. I went to a rally for him in 1984. Energy was palpable then. It's palpable now with Cruz. Voter enthusiasm is invaluable in an election cycle. And Hillary has none. Bernie Sanders on the left is cleaning her clock when it comes to young people and when it comes to enthusiasm. She is tired. She's worn out. She's got nothing to offer. I mean, her slogan, let's make America whole again, that's going to go nowhere. You know, we need love. We need to not put up walls. We need to tear down barriers. It's not going to work. She doesn't have enthusiasm. So that's number one. Number two, that the electoral map is what elects the president. So Hillary could take, say, California in a landslide, but she still only gets the electoral votes of California. And if Trump squeaks by in other states, such as Florida and Ohio, maybe picks up Pennsylvania, he's going to be the next president. Listen, Bill Clinton, her husband, won his first term without a majority of the Americans voting for him. Did you know that? He didn't have a mandate. He was not elected by a majority of the people. He was elected because he won the Electoral College. That's what you need to remember. And then the third thing, and this is a really big issue. The secular press, the big media, has been giving Hillary a pass on Benghazi, on her emails, top secret emails, on her server, on her corruption with Wall Street, taking money in the Clinton Foundation. She's been getting a pass. She won't get a pass from Trump. He will punish her. He will run at her like he's run at all the other Republicans that you've seen. And one by one, he has decimated them. And he is going to decimate her if he is the nominee because he's not afraid, all right? So don't worry if you want Cruz or Rubio or one of the other people and Trump ends up getting the nomination. Trump can beat Hillary because Trump knows how to throw punches, and Hillary is going to end up being his political punching bag.